while
안녕하세요.
Hello and welcome back to the stream. I have been in bed all day because it's Saturday and I have the flu, so I don't know. Not that I'm like ever really alert, but I'm even less so right now. So I don't know. We'll see how we go. It's a struggle out there. But I guess we will just do the usual and get into the spelling bee and the mini crossword where I can demonstrate just how dumb I really am. So yeah, let's go. Hey Dango. Oh. We have the letter O. We have the letter P, A, Y, L, G, and N. And O is the letter we have to use. Should have said that first. Oh well. Apology. Apollo? Not a word. Okay. Well, tell that to the Greeks, I guess. Anthology? Not a word. They took Mars just the other day. What do you mean? They did what to Mars? Napology. I have a degree in napology. Let's see if it's a thing. Now, I'm very good at taking naps. Not a word. Well, I think this is just discriminating against me, actually. On... Oh no, there's no C. We can't have oncology. Panthology, no. Anthology, no. There's no T. Mars is a name, you mean? Okay. Goonology? Goonology? That's a degree that a lot of people on the internet have, I think. Let's try goonology. Not a word. Well. You were just writing Goonie. Well, let's just do Goon. Goonie. Oh, it took Goonie. What the heck? It didn't take Apollo. But it took non-apology. There you go. Now you are thinking outside the box. Non-apology. Oh, we ended the game. Good work. Yeah, goonology is a fusion of napology and apology. Yeah. Jeez. Just too good, guys. Just too good. Has everyone been having a good weekend? My body is just like, oh, rest. Just let me sleep. Just really got to keep on buying those lottery tickets, boys. Just, you know, and girls. Boys and girls buying those lotto tickets. Detachable parts of a dress form. Should know that, but I don't. Catering container containing caffeine. Coffee cup? Thermos? I don't know. You read a bunch of manga today? Ooh. As long as it wasn't the type that we talked about last night. There was no like tentacles or anything sus in there, was there? We hope not. Climbing structure offered in pet stores. I don't know, cat tower? Cat tree? Gets into town. Frederick Chopin or Ray Charles notably. Would that be pianist? They were both pianists, right? Oh. Put the P in the right place. I don't even know how to spell this. Pianist? Is that how you spell it? Someone tell me. They don't hold water. Me on Saturday, me when I've had too many beers is that I don't hold water. When I, you know. Knee-jerk reaction. That's one we can guess. Good. With some chance of failure. I don't know, my life. Does that count? Prepare for a new job, maybe. Midday Broadway showing. That's a matinee, right? That's a matinee. I don't know how to spell that, but is it matinee or matinee? Yeah, I'll just put an A. I don't know. Matinee. All right. Goal of a noted reality show set on an island. I guess that's like Survivor. You're reading a double isekai. The villainess is reincarnated, becomes a doctor, then she dies in a plane crash and relives her royal life as a doctor instead of the villainess. I mean, sure, why not? So I'm a spider. So what? Witherspoon, who portrayed Jude Carter in Walk the Line, that would be Reese. June Carter Cash. Ooh. Better than being a vending machine, true. Especially if it's used panty vending machine. That would... You've done something in your past life if, yeah, if that's where you end up. Lodgings for larks. Larks are a type of bird, right? Are larks a type of bird? I think they are. Souvenir from a baseball game. Okay, I think that's a cap. Baseball cap. These would actually like be so much easier if I, you know, consumed American culture. And look, like I did to some degree when I was a kid, obviously, because that was the only thing that there was really, like, you know, BBC stuff, some small amount of Australian stuff, and a shitload of American stuff. But, yeah. Prepare for a new job, maybe. I don't know. Goal of a noted reality show set on an island. That's like Survivor, right? I've never watched it, so I don't know what the goal is. To be the last person? Is that the goal? I don't know. I've never watched it. Lodgings for larks. All right. Climbing structure offered at pet stores. Okay, cat tree fits, so we're going with cat tree. Cat tree. Gets into town, starts with an A. We've got a lot of letters. Arrival. No. Okay, we've got a lot more letters now for this. Catering container containing caffeine. Didn't you say that you worked in Hospo Hyperborean? What's a catering container containing caffeine? I just know coffee cups and like thermoses. I don't know. Survive fits? Oh yeah, Survivor, survive. Duh. That. Okay. Well, I didn't want the letter there, so who on you actually? Detachable parts of a dress form. Hems? Hems aren't detachable though. Gets into town. Something with Av in it. What's 7 down? Lodgings for larks. I have no idea. What is a catering container containing caffeine? What is it? They don't hold water. Something evil, even, Steven, I don't know. A what? Oh, a sieve. Duh. Yeah, well, they definitely don't hold water. But no one's out here sieving their water. I mean, don't know, maybe they are. Well, we can have a plural because it says they. They don't hold water. It doesn't say it doesn't hold water. So I think that's all right. This is what I'm confused about. But there's a good chance I spelt matinee wrong because I didn't know if it's matinee or matinee because I'm a bogan and I don't go to the theatre, although I do know that it's called a matinee. So I do feel at least somewhat classy in that respect, but you know, we're just trying our best. Catering container containing caffeine. We're never gonna get that. Oh, nests. Because it's a bird. Yeah, obviously. That makes sense. All right. Okay, so the thing gives us arrives. Well, that's what I thought it was. Oh, because that is a mistake then. I did spell matinee wrong in that. Saturn? I don't know. Something earn. Something earn. Something that caffeine goes in that caterers use that ends in earn. Tea urn. Is that a thing? Wow, I thought urns were just for dead people. Then what is one down? With some chance of failure. Risk. Oh, so it's going to be a 2-word thing with the word risk in it. Something risk. TN is the big thermos you get with the polystyrene cups. Oh, okay. I just call that a thermos. I don't know. At the local footy, you're hanging out with like the Hawthorn and Melbourne and I don't know who the other rich people are. You think 2 down is retrain? Huh, it could be. That means, oh, because I spelled that wrong. Duh. Arms. Detachable arms for a dress. There we go. We did it, guys. Just being dumb. Being a bimbo is okay on the internet though, because I think I find people find it like endearing. People don't like girls to be too smart, so that's okay. I'm a bimbo naturally, so you know we do our best out here. Oof, 13 minutes. What's that other one we played yesterday? Connections. The Connections were Sesame Street. And that's why it was fun. Hey, you leave my IQ, you wouldn't believe. I actually had my IQ tested by like a recruitment agency. And I did like this Mensa test. Like a proper, like supervised one. And if I told you what my IQ was, you'd be like, nah, you're way too dumb. You wouldn't believe it. I don't believe it either. That's why I don't believe in IQ tests. Because if it measured my IQ at that level, I'm like, nah, that ain't real, bro. Boot ball score points. Those could be like footy related. Americans call manual car stick, right? So you could have drove, stick, diesel, tow. Those are all to do with cars, right? We could have that. $100 IQ is the average. I really don't. Actually, yeah, probably. I don't know. I see a lot of people on the internet, though, that a lot of women on the internet that seem to be like maybe 80, 90 IQ. Oh, that was a mistake? Okay. Well, I guess I gotta be careful then. I thought that was good. Boot ball score points. Nope. All right. I'm gonna fail this. Honestly, 80 is still pretty normal. We are starting to get towards needing a carer at like like sub 70, right? Like singer ticket. Frisbee, bone. Okay, ball. These could be things that dogs play with. Stick. If this isn't one, I am fucked. Things a dog can fetch. Okay. Thank God. I only have two chances left. IQ is defined with 100 average, 15 standard deviation, so 95% of people are 70 to 130. Yeah, that checks out. I'm just more talking about IQs in terms of like just paying myself out for being a bimbo. What bell? I don't know. I already tried some and they were wrong, so now I'm scared. Score points host bell. I think I already tried that. Things on a game show. Yeah, that is worth a go. Nope. We've only got one thing left now. Yeah, we've buggered this. And when I say we, I mean me. I have buggered this. Diesel tow load. Yeah, I tried not to laugh at. All right, so let's think. Deselect all. Tow truck drivers, diesel engines, loads, tow and loads, baby. And they drive. I don't know. I think I already tried that combo though, didn't I? Yeah, I already tried this combo. That was the first combo that I tried. So maybe like, don't they have like halftime entertainment at like sports events in America? Or is that just like the Super Bowl? That's the only one I know. A guy from Western Sydney, a guy from Bankstown played in the Super Bowl last year for, I think, Philadelphia? I don't know. Anyway, I thought that was cool. So maybe it's like ticket, singer. Do they have a host? I don't know. I actually don't know. You think it's common? Okay, singer points. Ticket. And I guess they have like footy boots even for the like, because they would still need to have like spiked boots, right? All right, let's maybe try this. I'm actually really scared. But then wouldn't score be there? Oh, it's so confusing. Score. All right. Nah. Well, we are dumb, so there you go. We suck at life, and what can I say? We have no future, kids. We have no future, and we are going nowhere fast. So fun for the whole family out there, guys. Wow, squeeze me. I'm having some tea. Delicious. Local traffic violations. Please, I am a law-abiding citizen. I do not accept that. I guess we're getting to some news because there's stuff going on in the world. And I have been asleep and I do need to catch up on it, but I don't know. Sometimes I just wish I could just get paid to sleep. There are like some Twitch people that get paid while they sleep, right? Yeah. That should be, if anyone should get paid for sleeping, it should be the girl with lupus, because all I want to do is sleep. So I need to get in on that racket. If anyone has any tips or tricks on how to get paid for sleeping, and I don't mean S work, not that. I mean actual me sleeping alone with my cat in a wholesome way. That kind of sleeping. If people can work out how I can make a nice living doing that, please hook me up, because that's what I would rather be doing. Yum 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 yum. It's hard out there. Oh no, why is Trump so frustrated with Israel and Iran? I've got a feeling Trump is frustrated with a lot of things, to be fair. I mean, I'm frustrated with life, and I'm not in charge of the world's singular superpower, so, you know, it's hard out there.
Pitting the U.S.-Israeli axis against Iran. President Trump is painting himself as a statesman.
It's in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump.
He and his administration are taking on any media that don't buy that line. The killing fields in Gaza, disguised as aid stations.
Ooh.
The videos are horrific. And
oh God.
dismantling the headlines. Somebody's got to do it, and nobody's better at it than us all right.
The music makes me want to make fun of it, but then I hear what he's actually saying and I'm like, oh wait, this is actually really bad. So I don't know, it's just that kind of juxtaposition. I don't know, the music's just really lame and makes you like not take it seriously, but it is actually super serious. So ooh. Imagine trying to just get food to feed your family and from an aid station and they're just mowing people down. Like, yeah, I don't know. Choose better music, Al Jazeera, okay? Because it's really hard for a girl to, like, you know, concentrate on what you're saying when you have that really lame music.
From holding talks with Iran about its nuclear program to bombing its nuclear facilities, to then executing a trademark Trumpian 180-degree turn and brokering a ceasefire. From publicly backing Israel to then scolding it on live.
Did they bring Anthony Bourdain back to life, but like turn down his like charisma and looks a little bit? Sea Dog VA currently 14,000 viewers. I'm just sleeping. Yeah, fuck him. Seriously, fuck him. Must be fucking nice, mate. Jesus. He really is so much like Bourdain. Yeah. Seriously. It's creepy.
Live television with a little profanity thrown in. The American president had another one of those weeks that had political leaders and news organizations struggling to figure out what to make of it all. There is usually a theatrical component to what comes out of the White House these days, starting with a president obsessed with optics. Donald Trump's persistent pivoting has less to do with diplomacy than it does with the narrative, one that he hopes casts him as a peacemaker. Despite all the twists and turns, Israel's actions in Iran have been insufficiently questioned, just like in Gaza, while Western news outlets continue to paint Iran as an irrational existential threat to the Middle East. It is a misleading framing with elements of propaganda to it, which when one compares the nuclear programs in Iran and Israel, simply collapses.
Welcome back to Morning Joe.
Of all the sound bites Donald Trump has provided American journalists with over the years, this one may end up in a category of its own because of what Trump said and the way he said it.
We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.
Trump was criticizing both Israel and Iran. It's obvious he really doesn't like it when people don't listen to him. That's what I picked up on, Trump's frustration. And of course, there was the swear word itself.
They don't know what the they're doing. Do you understand that?
Trump's whole persona is based on deal making. The book that helped propel him into stardom was The Art of the Deal. On his reality shows, it was all about the theater of deal making.
Account asks, what's a bogan on YouTube chat? Well, I shouldn't actually use that word because I don't like that word, but it's a word that rich people use to describe working class Australians, which I do come from a very working class, blue collar background. And yeah, it's usually used as a pejorative to describe people like me. I have been called one many times by mean girls and just rude people. But sometimes I just, kind of call myself one as a defense mechanism. Yeah, it's just a classist pejorative term, basically. It's something like akin to like calling somebody trailer trash or something like that, I guess. Except like we don't really have, we do have caravan parks in Australia, but yeah, we don't really have that. But yeah, it's just someone that you would call somebody from like a low income family that you're trying to insult. Yeah, that's about it.
So now it's the theater of diplomacy. So it's important to him that he gets credit for what he does, that the media give him credit. That's what really matters to him.
This is a very weird situation we all find ourselves in, because on the one hand, you have America funding the wars, supplying.
I don't think it's similar to brokey because it's very cultural. Like you can be somebody that somebody would call a brokey, right? And still have rich parents. Bogan is very much like the suburb that you're born into, the family that you're born into. It's very much like an immutable characteristic, right? Because I attended like group of 8 universities in Australia. I'm very well educated. I've done all these things, right? Which should mean that I shouldn't be called a bogan anymore. But it doesn't matter because of the way that I speak and where I grew up and what my dad did as a job. I'm still considered a bogan to these people, right? It doesn't matter because my parents aren't rich. I didn't grow up in a rich suburb. I didn't go to private school. So to these people, I'm always going to be a bogan, even though I have better degrees from better universities than them. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if I've excelled in my career. It doesn't matter if I work harder than them. It doesn't matter if on every metric I exceed, I can be better than these people on paper. It doesn't matter. They'll still hear my accent. They'll still, whatever it is they want to judge me about, they'll do it. So yeah, fine, whatever. Look, like I've just learned to live with it. The thing that hurts the most is like when I've had boyfriends who come from rich families and their parents haven't approved of me because of where I come from. That's when it gets painful. But if you have a good partner, they'll tell their parents to where to go, but that doesn't always happen. So that's the only time where like it really gets to me. Yeah, some people are assholes. Like, what can I say? Some people are just dickheads. You just gotta roll with it, I guess.
Flying the bombs, and then the president wants to come out of all of this looking like some sort of hero.
Make no mistake, however, this is a war Israel instigated through airstrikes coordinated with the U.S., which then bombed Iranian nuclear facilities just for good measure. Iran's military response was measured, targeting a U.S. Air Force base in Qatar after warning Washington the attack was coming, resulting in no American casualties. Part of Benjamin Netanyahu's strategy in attacking Iran was diversionary, to draw attention away from Israel's genocidal assault on Gaza, the horrific scenes of starving Palestinians continually getting mowed down, killed, while lining up for food aid. A second element in Israel's thinking is to cripple Iran economically, as well as militarily, by killing more than a dozen of its top military figures. The goal, to mitigate Iran's influence in the Middle East through regime change. What made President Trump's criticism of Israel's ceasefire violation so extraordinary, though, despite the performative aspect of what he said, was that Trump was still calling out an ally.
I'm not happy with Israel. You don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either.
Certainly, part of it is political theater. And he's the master of theatrics, to create ambiguity about what he wants to do, so that he can have various options. As things change, he can go back and say, I told you so. So when there is a chance for the overthrow of the Islamic Republic, he talks about regime change. Or if the situation is different, he can say, I wanted to make Iran great again. It is a combination of political theatrics and strategic ambiguity, which is a very effective way of pursuing policy.
So Trump himself has moved across the scene from possibly wanting to negotiate with Iran to then saying he needs to wipe out their nuclear program to now wanting a ceasefire.
Yeah, and these are all the seeds planted by Bibi, right? This is just whispering in his ear, because he never really had any inclination. He never really had any desire to really. And then, Israel's just conveniently got this intelligence. They just conveniently, have to strike first, try and goad America into also taking, action with their bunker busting missiles. I don't know. It's all a bit phallic. It all seems like a bunch of boys playing with their willies. I don't know. Yeah, look. Sorry, I'm just looking at Trump's face. Sorry, that's why I just sort of like dissociated? Yeah. Dissociated for a second there. Midnight Hammer with deep penetration. Yeah, friggin' everybody's, all the 3-letter word people, they're spending too much time on Pornhub. They're doing whatever with their midnight hammers. And,
Is this a sign of instability, or is it a factor of the way he approaches his governance? I think we see both. In some ways, he did more than any other U.S. president in supporting the Israeli prime minister, but at the same time, he also did more in tamping him down.
If the U.S. was out to destroy Iran's major nuclear sites, all of which are buried underground and heavily fortified, this appears to be a case of mission unaccomplished. The Americans target.
This is what I find so interesting, right? Tell me if you also find this interesting. And I know I've said this before, so I'll try and say it in a slightly different way so it's less boring for you. Copy my homework, but change it up a little bit. So this is what I find so interesting, right? Iran has all these secure, top security clearance necessary to gain entry nuclear facilities, right? America and Mossad in like a joint operation were able to get the Stuxnet virus into a secure nuclear facility, that had air gapped computers. They were able to sneak a USB stick into there. They were able to, they were able to infect all the computers, and this was in the 2000s, right? And they were able to infect these computers and set the nuclear program back, right? Okay. They were also able to get all these plans, find out exactly what the layouts of these underground facilities at these 3 sites in Iran were. They're able to they've got Mossad agents everywhere. But in Gaza that's next door, they just don't know where these hostages are. They just can't find them. If you don't think that Iran is just using these missing hostages as a pretense to flatten Gaza and to annex Gaza, then I don't know. You might be in the double digits for the IQ test, okay? You are a bimbo. You are more of a bimbo than me. You need to sort it out. Because Hamas all come from the same camps and circumstances, it must be incredibly difficult to infiltrate. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't... That's a good point, I guess, but they do let outsiders in. Like, they do let outsiders in. And they do work with, like, other organizations from other countries, right? Like, Hezbollah's from Lebanon. Yasser Arafat was from Egypt. Like, you don't necessarily have to be born in the same camps and stuff, but I imagine there's probably a hierarchy, right? Those guys are already vetted. Like, if you guys are born into the same refugee camp, they already know, like, you're a G. They know your mum or whatever. But that's the other thing, right? They could, like, work it for generations, right? They could have, like, a family show up at a refugee camp, give birth to their son, and then they groom their son to, you know, secretly low-key be, you know, I don't know. I don't know how espionage works, to be honest. Just because I'm Slavic, it does not mean that I am a spy, all right? But yeah, I just find it interesting, that's all.
Targeted 3 sites, Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan, using some of the biggest bombs in existence, GBU-57s, bunker busters, which weigh more than 30,000 pounds. President Trump's declaration that those sites had been obliterated was quickly contradicted by U.S. news organizations.
Even though President Trump did describe the strikes on the 3 sites as having been, quote, completely and totally obliterated, really it's a question of how accurate that is.
And Trump did not take it well.
CNN is scum.
Benjamin Netanyahu has played the Iran...
I mean, I agree, but not for the same reasons.
First raising the imminence of the threat to Israel 30 years ago. Another angle that is underplayed in Western reporting, Iran's nuclear program is no secret. Its development has been monitored by the International Atomic Energy Agency, the IAEA, which has time and time again concluded the Iranians have no nuclear weapons. The IAEA is a UN body that keeps an eye on all signatory nuclear powers, but has very limited oversight on one of them, Israel. The Israelis have had nuclear weapons for decades, but refuse to acknowledge that. And the Americans are happy to tolerate that while treating Iran as some kind of rogue nuclear threat, a danger to the Middle East.
The narrative has been that they...
Just clicking on the article that Hyperbovian sent through. Israel knew Hamas's attack plan more than a year ago. When's this article from, though? Anyway, if this, depending on when this is dated, but I said they knew. I said they knew. Can we... Do I need to pay to read this? I'm not subscribing. What do I do? Israel knew Hamas's attack plan more than a year ago. A blueprint reviewed by the Times laid out the attack in detail. Israeli officials dismissed it as aspirational and ignored specific warnings. No, I mean, they did ignore it, but not because they didn't think it was going to happen. They ignored it because they were like, oh, this is perfect. We let them come in, we let them do this, and then we've got a pretense for perpetual war until we achieve our aims, which is ethnic cleansing and annexation. Yeah, like I said this in October. The 7th of October, when that happened, I said to my friend, I said exactly this. Turns out I'm right. I am Nostradamus again. I said that Jared Leto was a PDF downloadable file, and he is in fact that. So we would like to print as a save as a PDF, please. Thank you. And once again, I am correct. Anyway, New York Times won't let me read its fucking shitty paper, but then again, it does let me play its shitty games, so I can demonstrate to the general public how much of a bimbo I am. So thank you. Appreciate it. Doing good out here. Wow.
They have been developing a bomb specifically against Israel. And certainly Iran did develop a bomb program up until 2003, but it was never directed at Israel. It was directed at Iraq, and it came to an end when the coalition forces moved into Iraq for the Second Iraq War.
Iran and the U.S.
Ah, yes, the coalition of the
in a
fuckwits.
Cold War
Good work,
for
Australia.
almost half a century. Every American official, Democrat or Republican, they all think Iran is a principal source of instability and chaos in the region.
We're very clear. A nuclear-armed Iran is an existential threat to every country.
And the same way that the Iranian media portrays America in the most negative way, American media portrays Iran in the most negative way, as a threat to stability in the Middle East.
Iran has been the largest state sponsor of international terrorism for all of our adult lives since 1979.
And this kind of hostility leads us to the point where somebody can go on the BBC and say that the Fordo nuclear facility is only meant to kill Jews.
This is a nuclear capability that is built specifically and totally for the murder of Jews in Israel.
That statement has no basis in reality, but it goes unquestioned.
Joey's back in Twitch form. Hey Joey, good to see you.
In fact, Iran has behaved in a pretty pragmatic way through this crisis. When America dropped the bunker busters on Fordo, the Iranian retaliation on American bases in Qatar was pretty carefully calibrated. It only sent as many missiles as America sent bombs. The intention there was to ensure that the region...
Whoa. Hyperbovian, you're saying hello in Japanese and Korean. That's very impressive, but I'm trying to watch my video.
wasn't set alight. The idea that Iran is the most crazed actor in the Middle East is not the truth.
Iran is everyone's favorite boogeyman. Even when the United States' own intelligence says there is no nuclear bomb being developed, it's dismissed. And America's always had a few designated external threats, and one of them has always been the Islamic Republic of Iran. Listen, Iran didn't do itself any favors by behaving the way it does. However, the American government really needs to take a hard look at itself in the way that it is regurgitating Israel's narrative on Iran. Again, if anyone needs reminding, Israel was the aggressor in this.
In a story rife with misconceptions, here is yet another. Although Donald Trump has backed off on the need for regime change in Tehran, both the U.S. and Israeli governments have pushed for it, and Benjamin Netanyahu continues to do so. The past few years have featured periodic episodes of unrest in Iran over social, political, and pocketbook issues, caused at least in part by the brutal economic sanctions its people have suffered under for so long. Given that context, there has been plenty of speculation on Western news outlets that the joint military assault could bring down the leaders of the Islamic Republic. Instead, we've seen something else on the streets there, signs of national unity.
Another myth has been that the minute that the regime began to be attacked, that the Iranian people would rise up and overthrow the mullahs. We do not necessarily assume that when there's a Black Lives Matter demonstration in the United States, that it is in order to overthrow the government and the entire system. But foreign states consider it such a hostile state, they immediately jump to the conclusion that the people want to overthrow it. And in fact, it's a regime that governs over 90 million people, and a great number of those people support it.
In Iran, there is a clear sense this is not over. All of Trump's talk about making Iran great again, and Netanyahu trying to instigate a national uprising using old political slogans like women, life, freedom. There is an understanding that Israel is laying down tracks on which train of a future war with Iran can be run at any time. There is no assurance that this is a permanent peace.
At a time when the situation in Gaza is as
I'm sorry, but like discount Anthony Bourdain over here is, I don't know. It's so, don't you think it's so creepy? It's like he's wearing his face. Dude.
dark and dire as it's ever been, the amount of media attention this genocide is getting has been falling off, despite the fact that there have been developments, including aid stations that have proven to be deadly. Nick Muirhead is here with more.
The biggest story, the biggest scandal in Gaza continues to be the operations of the so-called Gaza Humanitarian Foundation. Over the last 2 weeks, which coincides with Israel and the US's war on Iran, at least 169 Palestinians trying to get food from GHF distribution points have been killed, and Palestinians have documented what that...
Yeah, look, Trump can't even make America great again, so you should probably focus on that before trying to make other countries great. And like, my country's already great, so I definitely don't need your fucking input, Trump. It's fucking telling everyone what to do. So fucking annoying. I mean, America does that anyway, but they usually use the back channels to tell other countries what to do. Trump's just like, yeah, I'm just gonna do it on telly. Like, here I am. Hey, Australia, you need to spend 5% of your GDP, but like, if you look at like how much we're spending on AUKUS for like these freaking submarines, we are spending more than 5% of GDP on defense. So are you copying to the fact that your submarines aren't worth shit? I don't even think we're getting any submarines. I don't.
looks like. The sites are exposed. There's no shade from the summer heat. There's no crowd control or guarantee of safe passage, which has led to UN officials calling them death traps. The GHF has kept its funding a secret for the most part, but what we do know is that the US government supports the organization. It has authorized $30 million in funding, and according to Reuters, the figure could increase to hundreds of millions of dollars. In a recent press briefing, State Department spokesperson Tammy...
Yeah, I don't really like... The American people can vote for whoever they want. Like, that's really up to them. And obviously a lot of people were satisfied with his first term, right? Because they didn't re-elect him in the next election, but they re-elected him in the election after that. So there was obviously people, you know, that are... Yeah, I mean, he just kind of went a bit, what's a diplomatic way to say this? It's maybe off the meds this time round. I don't know.
Amy Bruce said 44 million meals have been distributed by GHF so far.
We are committed to endorsing, helping, promoting efforts to make a difference.
Meanwhile, doctors in Gaza are sounding the alarm. They're running out of baby formula. Some newborns have been given less than 36 hours to live.
ما فيش حليب محتاج أدوية حتى يصير منيح حتى يتحسن حتى يعيش حتى يشوف الحياة إحنا في وضع صعب إحنا في حصار.
All of this is happening while aid trucks not affiliated with the GHF sit just a few kilometers away at border crossings, blocked from entering Gaza by the Israelis. The daily killings of starving Palestinians has become so normalized that it barely registers in much of the Western media. And as for the GHF, it continues to operate in the shadows with no accountability and the full backing of Washington.
Thanks, Nick. For nearly 2 years now, the Western media's coverage of Israel's war on Gaza has proven indefensible in headline after headline, time and time again. Much of that criticism has come from journalists, academics, media watchdogs, but few voices can cut through as effectively as Asal Rad's. Her viral headline corrections, posted frequently on X, have exposed the contradictions and the double standards in mainstream reporting and offered viewers a crash course in how language can shape public perception of war. If you've been watching the Listening Post, you have seen her here before. Now, with the dust barely settled from Israel's 12-day war with Iran, a conflict that produced a familiar pattern of media coverage, we turn to her again. As a historian of the Middle East, Asal Rad's analysis of how that war was reported and how it connects to the ongoing genocide in Gaza is essential, and, unlike many of the headlines that she takes apart, informative.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Headlines are very often the only part of a news piece that gets read. That's why I focus on them. People are short on time, articles can be paywalled, a social media snapshot of a headline is easier to consume than 800 words of detail. So
That's
it's
true.
important to get headlines right.
You thought Biden was a joke, but at least he was a funny one. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I did find Biden funny at first, but then I just was actually like, no, this man needs to be in a nursing home. Like, it's actually just elder abuse. I actually just felt really sad after a bit. I was like, someone come get your grandpa, okay? Come get your pop, someone. Yeah, it just kind of broke my heart a little bit by the end of it. Guy didn't know what fucking planet he was on half the time. Yeah, it kind of made me sad.
And in the nearly 2 years of this genocide in Gaza, there have been
I mean, I think somebody that's apparently was suffering from prostate cancer, advanced prostate cancer, and maybe Alzheimer's. At the very least, you know, he was starting, the signs of senility were starting to show. So if anyone was going to be a puppet, if you were going to find a puppet, that would be somebody, you know, with late stage cancer and with early signs of dementia. Or you could even argue, well, I think you could argue that there was, you know, some progression of Alzheimer's or some type of dementia, you know, manifesting there. So yeah, you know, he would be the perfect candidate if you wanted a puppet, right? The guy couldn't formulate a sentence a good amount of the time, and he didn't seem to be aware of his surroundings. It was actually just really, really sad. As much as like I don't like what he stands for and all the rest of it, it's like at the end of the day, it's still a person, and it's just really sad to see. Like, I just get upset when vulnerable people are treated like that, like children, old people. It's just, yeah, I don't know. It just makes me sad.
so many headlines that have been so wrong, and then Israel started its war with Iran.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival.
Netanyahu had already set the tone for how the story would get reported. And then the floodgates opened on the typical headlines we see whenever Iran is involved. There was an additional element this time because Israel was deeply involved as well. The language used by news outlets has been so revealing. Israel's strikes were characterized exactly as Israel described it. They were called preemptive. Anything by Iran was an escalation rather than a retaliation. When Israel would issue a statement, it was a warning, almost as if it was a public service announcement. But if Iran said something, it was a threat. Then there's the Israeli government versus the Iranian regime. Even though Netanyahu has spent 17 years in office and has shredded due process in Israel.
I mean, we've known for a long time, right? And we've covered like Edward Bernays and stuff on the stream before. We know that essentially the media and Hollywood are the propaganda arms of the US government, right? So the way that they frame things is very deliberate. They do it in like, they think they're being subtle, right? A lot of people see through it now, but back in the day, people didn't even question it, the way things were framed. And, you know, they think they're just making these conclusions about Iran being bad and Israel being good without, you know, they just hear the headline and they don't even realize that it's like very, you could argue that it's implicitly and explicitly stated in the headline, right? You could argue both of those things at the same time, and they're both true at the same time. That's why it's effective for a huge swath of the population, right? It's like, it's just brainwashing.
Of course, there are big problems with the Iranian state. Headlines and news reporting should reflect that by all means. But don't whitewash what's been happening in a state that is already carrying out a genocide and then started a whole new war.
Well, thank God for Bibi Netanyahu. He has cut through the fog and done, frankly, what should have been done as long as 20 years ago.
Fundamentally, we have...
When she said a whole new war, I was thinking of like someone making an Aladdin parody song. A whole new war. Da, 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 da. I know that's inappropriate, but I have ADHD and my brain is it's not right. I'm not right upstairs, guys.
An issue with terminology and framing. When you look at the headlines, the overwhelming impression is that Israel is almost always justified in its actions, or at the very least, that we can have a reasonable debate about how justified it is. The US was always part of Israel's war because the US funds and arms Israel. But there was this drumbeat for Trump to actually use some of the most powerful weapons on Earth to bomb Iran's nuclear facilities.
There is only one bomb that can destroy Fordo. There is only one plane that can carry that bomb, and those are American weapons and planes.
In a New York Times piece, not even an op-ed, this was the headline. Trump's Iran choice, last chance diplomacy or a bunker-busting bomb. Really? Who decided those are his choices? The New York Times used to be called the paper of record, and they're basically saying the President of the United States either has a chance at diplomacy, and by the way, Iran was engaged in talks until Israel attacked it, or if negotiation isn't possible, then the US can just bomb Iran with 30,000-pound bombs. Even presenting the choice like this implies that the two options are as legitimate as each other, but that's not.
Yeah, or that there's some type of binary, right? There's only two options, which is insane.
Not the case. The decision to bomb another country is not the same as talking to them. Then you have other news pieces as well on TV.
Yeah, watching Asmongold slowly get brainwashed into like being pro just wiping out Iran was crazy to see. Because I know people say that like he's far right and he's this, that and the other, but I think he just gives the most milquetoast, middle of the road, like boomer takes. You know, if you've got like boomer parents or grandparents and they, you know, they're just always trying to keep the peace and they're just trying to give like a middle of the road, like non-offensive take. I really feel like he just gives, just old people takes, to be honest.
And online. There are all these complex graphics showing you bomber jets, showing you bombs, and then 3D mock-ups of Iranian nuclear facilities. And what goes unsaid in all of this is that there needs to be a democratic process here. You need congressional approval. We need to determine, does Iran even really pose an imminent threat? Would this...
Yeah, but the thing is, Obama made all of these executive decisions, right? And the left didn't question the executive decisions that Obama made. So now they're kind of in the situation where they have to accept a right-wing president doing it, right? Well, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Like, they can clearly show like there's precedents for Obama making military decisions like unilaterally. So, yeah.
This be permissible under international law? But none of this is even part of the discussion.
Tonight I can report.
America don't give a shit about international law. They literally have the Hague Invasion Act, right? If anyone ever tries to take America or any of its assets to the International Criminal Court, they will literally storm the Hague and be like, America, fuck yeah. And like, I don't know, pew pew, bang bang, I don't know. They're going to do what they're going to do. But they will always lecture the rest of us about, you know, human rights, this, that, and the other, international law, this, that, and the other, but they don't care. They don't care. They break international law all the time, right? But they're the arbiters of morality, so, you know, they're allowed to, I guess. Cool.
Report to the world that the strikes were
A lot of politicians are geese. Well, they sure do honk a lot. All I hear is honk, honk, honk. I don't know.
spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier.
So after Trump's big bomb and the big announcement, the op-eds started getting churned out. And it's bad enough for news outlets to normalize the use of these massive weapons on a sovereign nation, despite the lack of clear justification. But what we saw was actually worse. There were these congratulatory pieces. Honestly, I don't know how much courage it takes to drop 30,000-pound bombs on another country when you have no one that you're accountable.
Well, I mean, you could argue that the pilots are courageous, right? Because there's still a chance they're going to get, like, anti-aircraft artillery fire. You could argue that the pilots are courageous, but they would be the only people in the situation that would be, right? Because they're the only people at risk. All anybody in the military or Trump is doing is just, you know, saying yay or nay. That's not really courageous. They've got security. They know they're safe. They've got, you know, Secret Service.
There was no process of challenge or discussion by the elected representatives of government. It was simply Trump's call to make. This editorial by the Wall Street Journal, the headline implies a kind of heroism, but then there's also the sentence under the headline that really caught my attention. Iran is characterized as an intolerable risk. This is the typical Orientalist trope used for Iran. It is presented on the one hand as a weak and feckless regime where everyone in the country is hoping to be bombed in order to be liberated. But on the other hand, it's an intolerable risk and it's all powerful. It's called the head of the snake, and its nuclear program, which has been under IAEA oversight, is seen as a threat, whereas Israel's possession of actual nuclear weapons, which are not subject to any international regulation, that's barely even mentioned. You always hear Iran being called a destabilizing force in the region or in the world. But Israel, which has bombed 4 countries this year alone while terrorizing the Palestinian-occupied territories, is never called a destabilizing force. The coverage of the Gaza genocide has already been bad. And to add to that, after so many months of killing being live streamed to our phones, there's a fatigue. What happened during the 12 days of Israel?
It's so, the reporting is obviously like very, very, very biased, right? But because we live in the age of social media and camera phones, people are seeing what's happening in Gaza. And so the media can frame it, you know, as just sort of trying to talk about the numbers in Gaza like they're just numbers, right? And then when there's, you know, residential areas bombed in Tel Aviv, right? It's like, oh, this is this person's name and this is this person's job, and oh, he's waiting for his father, his dad's under the rubble. Oh, yeah. As you know, this really big attempt to humanize one side of the conflict as opposed to the other side of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, and people are just seeing through it, and people are just, yeah, it's very interesting to see, because I think it's really changed the way this whole thing is framed for a lot of people. Oh, I've never had one of these before. Joey, what did you do? You primed? I don't even know what that is, but thank you. I think that's good. I'm sorry. I've only been streaming for like 5 weeks. This is the first time I've had this, so I don't know what it is. Let me look it up what it is. I know it's something to do with Amazon, right? I don't know. Free Prime sub. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I really do. That's awesome. Thanks. I will have to I'll have to read about what that does later. See, bimbo power. I told you I'm a bimbo. I don't know what's going on. Oh, you have a first next to your name. You're a founder. It says you're a founder. There you go.
Was that even less attention was given to Gaza. And people may say that, news outlets can only cover so many big stories at a time, but the Iran war was not entirely separate from the Gaza genocide. The culprit that connects them is Israel. Israel is always painted as acting purely in self-defense, even when it's on the attack. Palestinians are being killed by the dozens every single day. Every single day, while trying to get aid. You do see some coverage of this atrocity in the media, but...
Yeah, I will look at trying to make some subscriber emotes. It's just, yeah, I'll have a look tomorrow morning and I'll work everything out. It's just, I never really watched Twitch before I started streaming on Twitch. Like, I have watched some Twitch streamers, but on YouTube, because I just kind of like, that's the platform that I usually like, consume my media on typically. So yeah, it's a lot of like reading and learning how to do things and like learning how to use OBS and like doing all that stuff. So we're getting there, but yeah, thanks heaps for that, Joey. I really appreciate it. That's like really exciting. Thank you.
Just try comparing that with the sort of reporting we saw of Israelis who were injured or killed in Iran's retaliatory strikes.
You're looking live at Tel Aviv, Israel, where at least 8 people were killed and dozens were injured in an early morning missile attack from Iran.
Those victims get tons of headlines, and I don't begrudge that. Victims of war should make the news. But the media attention is just not proportional. It's not proportional to the number of Iranian civilians that were killed. It's not proportional to the number of Palestinians that have been killed, or the manner in which they've been killed by Israel. My headline correction started as a way...
And I think this is what happened with the invasion of Iraq, right? Especially with the WikiLeaks cables and all of that, and seeing all the war crimes and stuff that were happening there and the numbers of civilian deaths. And people were like, hang on, that's potentially, some estimates as high as 1 million people dead for nothing because there were lies about weapons of mass destruction there, right? And people are slowly waking up, and when the media just tries to just give you like a sterile number of civilian deaths, people are like, no, hang on, that's a person. Like each number, it represents an entire person with like a family and a life. And yeah, I think it's really starting to, bring it home for a lot of people, which is good. I mean, it only took a good 5,000 years of human civilization for us to work it out. But yeah, Okay, cool.
Of setting the record straight, adding in a word, putting an attribution, or cutting out stuff that's inaccurate. The reactions, especially from journalists, has actually been quite positive. And I think that speaks to the fact that so often it's the institutions that create these limitations, not individual journalists. Of course, there might be some problematic journalists, but most of the time there are power structures and editorial red lines imposed on how stories are reported. So that's what we're seeing reflected in these headlines. It's an institutional bias, an establishment perspective, and the victor's version of history as it happens. I'm not the only person correcting this stuff, but it's an indication of how many people want their media to get it right that people refer headlines to me to look at, or increasingly they call out the headline writers and say, we can't have this be the record of this moment. You need to correct this.
And finally, there was a news story that just came out of New York City that caught our eye since it bucked some dominant news narratives, like the ones we've already examined this week.
It always seems impossible until it is done.
Zohran Mamdani is now one step closer to becoming the city's first Muslim mayor. Mamdani has roots in India and Africa. His victory in the Democratic primary this past week shocked anyone familiar with the politics of a city that has the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. An unapologetic supporter of the Palestinian cause, Mamdani has said that should he become mayor and should Benjamin Netanyahu ever set foot in New York, he would order the police to arrest Netanyahu, who has an ICC warrant out in his name. Mamdani's victory over Andrew Cuomo, the former state governor who was funded by billionaire donors like Michael Bloomberg and Bill Ackman, has had pro-Zionists on the U.S. airwaves freaking out.
Far more frightening and far more stark than his progressive policies and plans with no backup, his lack of experience, etc., is his blatant and rife anti-Semitism. Yes, it's
What was that lady's name? You want to follow her on Twitter? Yeah, let me scroll back. We will get that for you. Come on, where are you? There she is. Is her name on the screen? Her name's not on the screen. The one that corrects the headlines, or this lady here? In any case, we'll get you both.
People were killed and dozens were injured in an early morning missile.
The headline lady? Oh, sure, that's a lot easier.
My headline correction.
Assalrad. ASSALRAD at Assalrad. Did you get it? I'm assuming you did. Take a screenshot. There we go. All right, sick.
It has the largest Jewish population outside of Israel. An unapologetic supporter of the Palestinian cause, Mamdani has said that should he become mayor and should Benjamin Netanyahu ever set foot in New York, he would order the police to arrest Netanyahu, who has an...
You're on audio only today. Are you running out of internet? Do you have like prepaid internet? I had to use SIM card internet once. It was horrible. It was absolutely awful. Not just screen space. Oh, fair enough.
ICC warrant out in his name. Mamdani's victory over Andrew Cuomo, the former state governor who was funded by billionaire donors like Michael Bloomberg and Bill Ackman, has had pro-Zionists on the U.S. airwaves freaking out.
far more frightening and far more stark than his progressive policies and plans with no backup, his lack of experience, etc., is his blatant and rife anti-Semitism. Yes, it's horrific to be honest.
Mamdani still has the election to win later this year, but in a city dominated by Democrats, that's looking like a formality, particularly after this week's primary result, which suggests that despite the dominant political and media narratives out there, some voters are still capable of thinking for themselves.
Ugh. Sorry, I keep on yawning. I'm in struggle city. The thing is, like, I feel like I should drink coffee before I stream, but then if I drink coffee before I stream, I also won't sleep when I finish streaming. So it's just like, well, just push through.
How far off is Australia from the defence spending that's been agreed to by NATO nations? Well, despite pressure ratcheting up, the federal government is tonight standing firm on its military funding targets. Strategic minds warn, however, that the ADF is underprepared. But economists say something else would have to give in the budget.
Air Force aerobatics, it's enough to make your stomach churn, but as our RAAF roulettes show their skills in the air, a commitment by NATO leaders to boost annual defence spending to 5% of GDP has sent those on the ground into a spin.
It definitely increases pressure on Richard Marles and Anthony Albanese to increase Australia's defence spending.
Australia currently invests about 2% of GDP into defence each year, and that figure will increase.
Yeah, but if we factor in AUKUS, we are spending over 5%, right? Because I ran some numbers. Australia spent $55 billion in 2024. The AUKUS submarine deal is $368 billion, so that's an average of $52 billion between 2025 and 2032. So yeah, that brings us up to actually above 5% of GDP. So what do you think about that, Trump? Oh, he's just admitting that he's never going to give us those subs. They don't even have the welders with the skill sets at the place they're supposed to be making the subs to like actually deliver them. It's insane. And we fucked over the French, so we can't go back to them. Like, what are we supposed to do? We also had to pay the French, like, to get out of our deal with them, right? We had to, like, pay, like, a penalty. Like, a penalty fee for fucking them over. So, yeah, it's all going great, guys. Everything's okay. Don't panic. Don't walk out into the ocean and pray for Poseidon to take you. You know, there's no need to worry. Everything's going to be all right.
By the early 2030s.
We've gone through our own process of assessing our strategic landscape and the kind of defence force we need to build in order to meet those threats.
Crucial programs that are central to our sovereignty are not being funded by this government.
Many experts agree.
What we have, despite spending $55 billion a year.
Yeah, maybe Harold Holt and the Russians will come and pick us up. You never know. We might get taken back to Mother Russia. I wonder if I could do that because I look very Russian. Like, I feel like maybe, you know. I mean, I think the accent is definitely going to give it away. But, you know, I could try.
Year is basically a peacetime force, which is no bigger than it was 30 years ago.
There are things that we should be spending money on right now, like drones, missiles, air defence and so forth.
An increase to 5% of GDP would add more than $80 billion to the annual defence bill.
Will we pay for it through cuts in spending on programs like health and aged care and the NDIS, or through increased taxes?
No matter how much Australia spends on defence, the experts say the federal government needs to show our allies and adversaries we're ready for a fight if necessary. And tonight there's a warning, we're not prepared.
We would run out of combat pilots in a matter of days.
Lucy Gray for 10 News First.
If I was ever a rich person, like if I ever win the lottery or like bag a rich fella, I want to learn how to like, I want to get my helicopter or like light plane license. Can you imagine like just being able to fly a plane? How sick would that be? You could like just like go on interstate trips. You know, it would be so good for me because I could fly up to Sydney and visit my family, or then I could fly from Sydney to the Gold Coast to visit my best friend, could do all this cool stuff. Let's be, you know, obviously I can, you know, hop on it. I can afford Jetstar, but it would, I don't know. I feel like it would just be super convenient to just be able to do it whenever you wanted. How is that war with Russia even going? You haven't heard anything about it for ages? Yeah, it's not a fashionable war anymore, Joey. It's boring now. The Middle East is the cool war, so that's the one that we are going to talk about. You have to keep up with the cool kids.
Targeted 3 key nuclear facilities: uranium enrichment sites, Fordo and Natanz, and Isfahan, where the raw materials are prepared. Now, these sites are heavily fortified and mostly underground. Donald Trump says they were obliterated in the airstrikes, but some officials have contradicted those claims, raising concerns that Iran still has the capacity to enrich uranium. There are also questions over why Tehran had already enriched 400 kilograms of uranium to a level just short of weapons grade.
It's very significant. As the International Atomic Energy Agency said, there's no peaceful purpose for enriching uranium to that level.
Enrichment is the process uranium has to undergo in order to be used to generate nuclear power or to create nuclear weapons. It's a method used to increase the concentration of its more explosive isotope. Natural uranium found in the ground is largely a mix of 2 isotopes, U-235.
We have lots of uranium in the Northern Territory. We have shitloads of it. And we have no nukes. Just putting that out there. Just putting it out there.
And U-238. Its concentration of U-238 is much higher, but according to the World Nuclear Association, U-235 is important because under certain conditions it can easily be split, and that yields a lot of energy. And therefore, to create a nuclear explosion, you need to increase the proportion of U-235. That's done with a centrifuge, technology that many scientists compare to a salad spinner. It's a rapidly spinning cylinder used to separate the 2 isotopes of uranium in gas form. It's done repeatedly to build up the percentage of uranium-235.
I would think the most common centrifuge that we have, that's obviously not for uranium, but one that, like, I don't know, I get blood tests done, like, because of my lupus, I get blood tests done like every 6 weeks. So they use a centrifuge, right, to separate your blood when they're going to test it, to separate your blood into like the different elements. It's a different type of centrifuge, but I mean, they put the test tube of blood and they spin it around real fast, and that, you know, separates all the different types of blood cells and plasma and all that shit. Oh, another place they use it, right? Have you guys heard of this? Those vampire facials? I've never gotten one, but they basically at beauty clinics they have a blood centrifuge, right? Because they do this facial, right? They'll like take your blood in like a vial. Yeah, Lucas. Ooh. I think I'm frozen. Yeah, Lucas Heights is our nuclear reactor. It's in South Sydney. Yeah, I saw one of my friends on the train, and because she was studying nuclear medicine, and I saw her on the train because she usually got off the train at Lidcombe, which is like where the nuclear medicine for Sydney Uni is. It's not like on the main city campus. And I was like, oh, like, you're going in today? And she was like, oh yeah, I've got to go to Lucas Heights for an excursion. I'm like, ooh, like, be careful. Don't like grow an extra arm or something. Yeah, so this is a thing, right, where like the skin clinics where they do like laser hair removal and stuff, they'll also do this. So they'll like, I guess because they've got like trained nurses there that give like people Botox and like inject stuff into people's lips and stuff. a vampire facial, also known as a platelet-rich plasma facial, is a cosmetic procedure that involves drawing a patient's blood, processing it to isolate PRP, which they use a centrifuge for that, and then reintroducing it to the face, often through micro needling or injections. That sounds so painful, to stimulate collagen production and improve skin texture. Anyway. Wrong type of centrifuge, but it's still a centrifuge.
5 in a sample. To be used to generate nuclear energy, it needs to be enriched to 3 to 5%. To create an explosive chain reaction, the concentration needs to be much higher. Around 90% is weapons grade. But scientists say even 20% or beyond is considered highly enriched. The International Nuclear Watchdog claims Tehran had enriched uranium to 60%. That's why there are fears.
The thing is, Hyperbovian, you don't need to do that if you just wear sunscreen. Like, just me staying out of the sun. Like, I went to a wedding in Sydney last year, and everyone was like asking me for my skincare routine. Everyone was like, oh my God, your skin, yada, yada, yada. They're like, what's your secret? And I'm like, well, I don't go in the sun because I can't. And I'm just like, just wear sunscreen, girl, seriously. But like, that's what is the main cause of women in Australia having bad skin, right? Because obviously, like, we live in this beautiful country with, you know, beautiful weather, and we want to go out, we want to go to the beach. Obviously, in Melbourne, the beaches are shit. But if you live in a place where the beaches aren't shit, you want to, yeah, slip, slop, slap, babes. Exactly. That's my motto. But obviously for me, like, it's not a choice. I have to stay out of the sun unless, like, I, you know, want to end up in hospital or something. I really have to be careful. Like, if I want to go to the beach, it's SPF 50 everywhere, and I have to go in the morning or I have to go in the evening. Like, I cannot go during the day. In summer, there's just no way. It's just not gonna happen. But that's the main thing, right? Like, that's the main thing that causes the damage. So they wouldn't even have to do all this stuff to themselves if they just wore sunscreen. Like, it actually is. So much of aging is caused by photo damage. It's caused by, it's caused by the sun.
It was on its way to producing nuclear weapons.
So we don't know how Iran would try to deliver a nuclear weapon. I guess the most obvious way would be for it to use its existing long-range missile forces.
Now, Iran insists its uranium program is for peaceful purposes. But recent inspections confirmed its stockpile was big enough to build multiple bombs. What isn't clear is where that material is now. Was it buried when the nuclear facilities were attacked, or was it moved to another location before the strikes?
I think, seeing as though they knew that the strikes were coming, they would have moved it. They would have moved it. There's no way they wouldn't have.
Well, that's something.
You would deliver a nuke on a moped? That sounds super safe. That sounds very safe.
World. Look,
I've had Uber Eats delivered before on a moped, and it did not make it. It was not in good condition. So a little bit scared of a moped delivered nuke, let's just say.
Is now trying to find out.
I just gotta take a quick break, guys. I will be back in less than 2 minutes, hopefully. And I am back. I don't know if you saw, Joey, but I noticed when I came back in that you are the latest subscriber and also the first subscriber. So congratulations. My little BRB screen. If you saw your name there, that yeah, that's cool. And you got a little crown next to your name, and you got first because you were first. So congratulations. Oh, I don't know what happened to my activity feed, but someone just subbed or followed. I can't see. Why are all my widgets malfunctioning? Oh, I just got cheered 100 bits. Oh, that's so cool. Thank you. Joey's coming in clutch tonight, giving me cheers and subs. It's very exciting. Let me see if I can fix my activity feed, Twitch activity feed. Yeah, there we go. You got a whole bunch of stuff saved because you're never on Twitch. Yeah. Yeah, I do find YouTube a lot easier to navigate, but I don't think my YouTube chat is coming up in my my multi-chat today, although I probably shouldn't talk about that because I think they're a bit funny about that on this platform, so I should be careful. Let's see, how do I... All right. I think... Where do I move you to? Ah! Why am I so bad at technology? All right, that'll do. You can live down there now, Twitch activity feed. Oh, Dimpledore's here. Hey, Dimpledore. Sorry, I was having a bimbo moment trying to work out how to fix my Twitch widgets. They're all over the shop. I don't know what I'm doing. I just have to like literally Google how to do everything on my computer. I'm like, how do I do this?
Forced to choose between death and starvation, Gazans trek through active combat zones in search of food.
This is a death trap for us. This is not aid. This is the road to death.
Some return empty-handed, others with bags of flour. Many say it's not enough for an entire family.
We're living in humiliation. I can't feed my children. Until when will we remain like that?
The US-run Gaza Humanitarian Foundation began operations a month ago to scenes of chaos. Shots fired as crowds of desperate Palestinians swarmed distribution sites. On Friday, Israeli newspaper Haaretz reported IDF soldiers were ordered to deliberately shoot at unarmed Gazans.
Jeez.
One source describing it as a killing field.
And this is the other thing, right? You know how there's United Nations peacekeeping forces? You would think this would be a time when they're deployed, right? But the US is one of the 5 permanent members of the UN, right? So they have a veto. They have a veto and they always back Israel. Always, always, always. And that's why, despite a lot of nations wanting to recognize Palestine as a state and, you know, give it sovereignty legally, Australia always abstains, which is really the strongest thing we can do, unfortunately, because America has us by our big giant kangaroo testicles. If you know, you know. Does anyone have like, is that just tourists that buy like the kangaroo ball key rings and like bottle openers and stuff? I don't know. Anyway, I always get sidetracked with something stupid. It's a ADHD brain time. Yeah. You've seen them on a ute? Yeah. Yeah, tradie. I've seen quite a few tradies with the kangaroo truck nuts. Yeah. Yeah, so America always vetoes, Australia always abstains, because I think, especially, I think we would like to support that, right? But we can't, because we know what happens to Australian prime ministers that stand up to America. So we have to be good little bitches and do what we're told. So yeah, good times, good times.
With an investigation ordered into suspected war crimes. Israel's leaders slammed the report, calling the claims blood libels designed to defame the IDF, the most moral military in the world.
The United Nations has issued its own blunt assessment of the GHF, labelling it inherently unsafe. It says 400 Palestinians have died trying to access aid, a claim the GHF has labelled as misinformation.
The search for food must never be a death sentence. There is no need to reinvent the wheel with dangerous schemes.
Less than a week into a fragile ceasefire between Israel and Iran.
But who should we believe, the aggressor in a conflict, or like the third party, you could argue impartial, like humanitarian aid organizations and health professionals? I don't know. It's a bit of a hard one, guys. I'm going to need some time to think. It's obviously a very nuanced situation.
Mourners packed the streets of Tehran. Hundreds of kilometres away, satellite images revealed new activity at the Fordo nuclear enrichment facility, near the entrances and close to craters caused by US airstrikes.
I'm wondering now. Hell of a week, hasn't it?
Asked if he would consider further military action against Iran, Donald Trump's response.
Bombing the country
Sure,
again.
without question.
But the commander-in-chief also hinting at a possible winding down of hostilities in the Gaza Strip.
We think within the next week we're going to get a ceasefire.
In the smoke-filled streets of Gaza, war rages on. Death and destruction now an all too familiar sight. Alison Horn, ABC News, Tel Aviv.
Pieces of debris from exploded Iranian missiles have been falling from the sky in the West Bank. This 11-metre section of a ballistic missile landed on Raed Ahmad Robez's house in Hajr.
I got a call saying a missile had struck my house. I was terrified. This is a home built over many years, and seeing it hit like that was devastating.
It was one of several pieces that fell in the village during Israel's 12-day war with Iran.
We don't even know where these missiles are coming from, whether they're incoming
Iran?
or outgoing.
I would
you can
assume.
be walking down the street and suddenly you can die.
8 people, mainly children, were injured by falling debris. This boy was nearly hit while walking on the street.
He says that he felt in danger when the bigger part of the missile fell. It could have killed him as it fell very close to him.
When missiles are being intercepted over densely populated parts of Israel, the debris is often also being shot down. But here, with the interceptions high above, the debris is falling directly onto Palestinian villages and towns. And these people here don't have an early warning system or any shelters to protect them.
Israel couldn't care less about our safety. Their interception missiles are purposely fired over our villages, damaging our livelihoods, our village squares, and our schools.
More than 500 missiles were fired by Iran towards Israel during the war, most of them intercepted by Israel's sophisticated air defences. This 2-metre piece of missile released gas and unknown liquid when it fell in this small village.
It released a substance that could be poisonous. If any resident had been inside their homes at the time, they could have been injured or even killed.
The Israeli military says it won't comment about missile interceptions or debris in the West Bank. Eric Dworchak, ABC News, West Bank.
Hmm. Oh, we got baby oil diddler. Let's see what is happening with Puff Daddy P Diddler. Baby oil. Lovin'. I don't know. I don't even have anything funny to call him. He's just such a gross little man with no chin. You think, like, with all the money that he has, he would buy himself a chin? Like, I don't know. It's like how when girls get money, the first thing they do is, like, if they don't have boobies, they buy themselves some boobies. It's like, I don't know why he didn't buy himself a chin. I don't know. It's what would have been the first thing I would have done, Puffy Puff Daddy.
This video contains content that may be confronting.
Ooh.
Sean Combs' family leaves court, his life and legacy hanging in the balance.
I think if my brothers were accused of doing something, I would just not. Yeah, I would just be like, I love you, but you did something fucked up and I'm not going to support you. Go to jail, serve your time, and you'll always be my brother, and I'll send you ramen money, but yeah. That's it. Like, I couldn't imagine supporting a family member that, well, he's definitely going to get diddled himself in jail. He 100% is. Sex offenders are like at the bottom of the barrel in jail. Like, even criminals have some morals, right? They have some moral code. Like, just because you're somebody that's involved in organized crime or whatever, it's like the mafia, right? They don't hurt women or children. Like, criminals usually have some code of conduct. Like, and PDF files and those types of people, they get made, you know, they get turned into everybody's girlfriend when they're in jail, let's just say.
Prosecutors claim that for almost 2 decades, the music mogul was the head of a criminal enterprise they describe as his kingdom, with his foot soldiers helping him commit a raft of crimes, including kidnapping, arson and bribery. Attorney Christy Slavic says he forced women into days-long drug-fuelled orgies known as freak-offs and was able to get away with his crimes due to money, power and influence, telling the jury that stops now. It's time to hold him accountable, it's time for justice, it's time to find him guilty.
Mark, how do you feel?
The defence tried to cast doubt over the allegations. Attorney Mark Agnifilo saying the case was not about justice.
Even just that footage of what he did to Cassie in that hotel room, and I've worked in domestic violence before, so you know I have a strong stomach, but I was just like, I found it so hard to watch, just dragging her around like a rag doll. It's horrific, and you know that's really going to affect a juror, right? Because people typically aren't used to seeing things. Maybe they see things like that in movies, but to see it in real life is very, very confronting. So I think that's going to have an effect on the jury for sure.
It was about money. He pointed to the rapper's former girlfriend Cassie Ventura's $30 million settlement with Combs in her civil lawsuit. Cassie is nobody's fool, he told the jury. If you had to pick a winner in this whole thing, it's Cassie.
Sorry, but with what she went through, she deserves 30 million. Good for her. I'm so glad that she has a husband now and a family, and she gets to have some semblance of a life because she deserves it. It seems like her husband is so incredibly supportive of her, and I'm really glad she has that. Yeah, good for her. You take that money, Cassie, and you know, try and have a good life.
As the defence wrapped its case, there was applause in the overflow courtroom, but it's not the public who will decide the fate of Sean Diddy Combs. It's a jury of 12 average New Yorkers.
How long they will take or what they'll decide is anyone's guess.
Anybody who tells you that they know is either lying to you, lying to themselves, or much smarter than anyone I've ever met.
The judge will give instructions to the jury on Monday before they begin their deliberations. Lauren Day, ABC News, New York.
If you or anyone you know was affected by this video, please contact Lifeline on 13 11 14 or 1800 RESPECT, 1800 737 732.
Yeah, like a billionaire gave a woman that he abused and trafficked for years 30 million. Like, yeah, you would hope so. You would freaking hope so if there's any justice in the world. All right, I'm going to watch a video about cats' whiskers because I need a palate cleanser after all the sadness in the world. And I like cats and I like dogs and I like pretty much all the animals except for rats. So let's go. They're so cool. They're so funny. My cat is like not smart though. It's it's very funny to try and watch her navigate normal cat activities because she's just God bless her. She's she's not all right, is my cat. But we love her. She's very cute and she's very cuddly and she's very nice. She's just I think she's one of the few cats in the world that would not survive in the wild. Like, my cat is definitely domesticated just because she's very, very, very dumb. But she's very cute, you know, so it's okay. Sometimes it's all right to be a bimbo, you know. I have a black cat, so she doesn't have, like, she doesn't share one brain cell with all the other cats. Like, you know how people always say every orange cat in the world, like, shares one brain cell and they just kind of wait till it's their turn to get the brain cell. My cat's black, so she's not quite as dumb as, like, an orange cat. But, yeah, there's definitely some developmental issues in her head. I think the poor little thing might actually be inbred because I think I've told this story before about the farm that I got her from. And then when I went back to the farm to look at her mother, of possibly adopting her mother as well, the mother had a litter of cats, a new litter of kittens with my cat's brother. So there's definitely inbreeding, at least with that litter. So I'm concerned about how many generations that's been going for. But my cat is desexed. I got her desexed when she was a kitten. So, you know, at least that part of the inbreeding will end with my kitten. And she's beautiful and she's really sweet. So, you know, it's fine. It's fine if she's a little nuff kitty. Yeah, she's got parallel lineage, just like Edward Bernays. But yeah, she's so cute. It doesn't, like, look, she's taken care of. She gets her dine and her fancy feast and her bickies. She doesn't need to be smart, you know, because she lives inside a flat in Melbourne and she has everything that she could ever want, so she's fine. We don't have to worry about her trying to fend for herself, because the game with the DVD screensaver where you would, like, guess what color was going to come next? I don't know. Maybe that was just me. Maybe I was just a very special child. I think it just went in color of, like, the rainbow, right? I think it just went like red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Yeah. But yeah, my cat's brain cell is definitely bumping around like the DVD screensaver. You had a DVD player on the bus? How did that work? What school were you at, Hyperbovian?
Ending.
Oh, that ended abruptly. Oh. Konnichiwa. It's Austronesian. Hello. Good to see you, Austronesian. I'm having trouble speaking. Well, I always have trouble speaking. I try and act like it's an anomaly, but I just have trouble. My brain works way faster than my mouth, and I just sometimes just trip over my words. It's the joys of like unmedicated ADHD. I should probably actually try and like get medication for it one day, but I don't know. I have a bad heart, so I'm very scared to. But I'm sure they have like non-amphetamine drugs for. What's happened? Oh, everyone's saying hi. Oh, I love this one. It's like a very special one. Let's watch some animal videos. I think probably watch. Yeah, I don't think I want to try Ritalin or anything like that. Like, I'm not really interested in taking amphetamines, but I think there's like other types of drugs now that they have for ADHD that aren't amphetamines, but also just help with like focus and like slowing everything down. I have tried Ritalin and dexamphetamines when I was in high school, but it wasn't because I didn't have an ADHD diagnosis then, because I have like the type of ADHD where I dissociate a lot, whereas like the boys were always the ones being diagnosed with ADHD in school, right? Like, because they would be like, you know, causing trouble or whatever, but I would just zone out and stare out the window, and the teacher would always be like, Panda, what was the last thing that I said? And I would always be able to tell her because I could hear the words reverberating in my head even though I wasn't listening. So I'd also always be able to say what she just said. And so she would be like, well, try and look like you're paying attention. And I'll be like, yep. So I didn't even realize that I had ADHD until I learned, you know, at university what that looks like in females. Typically it's more like a dissociative type thing. And then, you know, just the constant racing thoughts, like my brain is just always blah 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 blah. Like my thoughts just never shut up. It's and yeah, weirdly enough, when I tried Dexies in high school, all of my friends were like, you know, having this euphoric experience, and I was like, wow, I've like, my brain just shut up. My brain shut up, and I could think properly, and I was like, whoa, is this how normal people feel? Like, and that's when I first suspected that I could have ADHD, but I didn't get a diagnosis until, yeah, a few years after that, I think. You sound like you'd make a good streamer. They do well talking a lot, I hear. Yeah, well, that's it. Like, I could just, like, spew all my consciousness out to, like, people on the internet. You can't hear people say anything because, like, you repeat everything they've said all at once on repeat. Yeah, I have so much noise in my head as well. But, yeah, like I have a condition called myocarditis with my heart, which is caused by lupus, and I'm already on heart medication. And I also already have like a very fast heartbeat, like a type of tachycardia. So I really wouldn't want to try something like dexamphetamine or Ritalin or something like that. So yeah, if there's, I think like there's all different types of nootropics and like prescription type nootropics and stuff that I think they can use for ADHD now. So I think there's more options. I'm sure, like, you know, if I go see a psychiatrist or somebody and just give them my entire medical history, they're not, if they take my pulse, they're going to be like, whoa, your heart is going so fast. Yeah. So I don't think they'll try and increase my heart rate with like more drugs. Why do cats meow? I don't know, because they want to annoy us. My cat likes to meow at 4 a.m. She says, it's brekkie time. And I'm like, no, I'm sleepy. But oh, baby panda. Baby panda.
Climbing out. He's going to escape. He's going over the fence.
He's climbing out of his cot.
The ground on the other side.
Look at his fat little bum.
He's not paying attention. He's gonna get out. Oh. Get back in there, you silly panda. These two wrestling with the plastic box. He's going right back for it. Look at him.
My average BPM, I think, is like 102. I think last time I checked, because I used to check it all the time, and I think it was usually around like 102. But with medication and like taking it on time, I can kind of bring it down to like 90. When I don't take medication, it can go, it's kind of like, 130, stuff like that. But it can get a lot higher. Like if I'm stressed, it can get dangerously high. Like I've had to go to hospital before for it. So yeah, I definitely don't want to be taking amphetamines. I want to, yeah. Well, yeah, I remember when I was in high school and I was going to go get surgery, and the anaesthetist was like taking my vitals, right? Because I had to go under for the surgery, and he was like, "Oh, your little heart." He's like, "You don't need to be scared," and I'm like, "I'm not scared." He's like, "It's okay." He's like, "I can tell that you're really scared by your heartbeat," and I was like, "Oh, yeah, no, I'm not." But like, it didn't twig to anyone then that like my heart was beating too fast. They just thought, oh, she's really scared because she's never had like a medical procedure done before. So they just assumed that like that was why my heart was so fast. But no, I found out later that I have lupus, and it attacked my immune system, attacked my heart. So that's what's happening. So yeah, I can bring my heart rate down with like medication. So that's good. I just have to remember to take it because I have ADHD. It makes it hard to remember to take medication. But when I start to feel my heart racing, that's typically when I'm like, all right, if you ever hear me out of breath when I'm streaming, tell me to go and take some propranolol. Can't even say the name of my medication. Propranolol. Whatever it's called. Just tell me to take my heart medicine and I'll take it. And then you'll notice I can breathe properly again, because it actually feels more like a problem with my lungs than it does with my heart. Like that's what happens. I start like really struggling to breathe. I actually thought the first time something was wrong with my heart, that there was something wrong. Like I thought, oh, I'm having an asthma attack or something. Like I thought there was something wrong with my lungs. But it was actually my heart.
He does not want to be in that cage. He is ready for the adult world. He's in a jungle. Oh, here he goes. He's almost out again. He's got one leg up. Will he make it over the fence? Oh no, she's bringing him back.
I usually take one when I wake up, and then I usually take one when I take a lot of medication for my lupus. So I take like hydroxychloroquine, I take prednisolone, which is like a steroid that like just helps with all the inflammation around my organs and my joints. So I take that at lunchtime. So I take another like heart tablet at lunchtime, and then I would typically take one before I start streaming. That's typically the one that I forget, and then I will check my heart rate before I go to bed, and if I need one to take one before I sleep, then I take one before I sleep. It just sort of depends. Sometimes I don't need a fourth one before I go to bed, and sometimes I do. It just depends on the day, I guess, and what my body is deciding to do. But yeah, I can take up to 5 a day if I have to, but typically I find that I don't have to. Wasn't chloroquine the horse COVID drug? Yeah, hydroxychloroquine or Plaquenil. It's the prescription name in Australia. Yeah, it was, I almost couldn't get it during COVID because Trump told everybody that they could use it for, for COVID. Yeah, and when I tried to get it, I had to ring around I think I rang around 15 different chemists. And then the lady wanted me to prove that, when I finally found someone that had it, the lady wanted me to prove that I had lupus. So I had to actually because I think a lot of people were ringing and saying that they had, pretending to have rheumatoid arthritis or pretending to have lupus so they could get it, which you need a prescription for it anyway, so I don't even know how that works. But maybe they were getting telehealth and telling the telehealth doctor that they had it. So I got a letter from my rheumatologist and I just had to use that. And then I also take a chemotherapy drug once a week called methotrexate. So I only take that on Monday because it's really, really toxic. It was developed to treat leukemia, but they don't use it to treat leukemia anymore. But what it does do, because it's a chemotherapy drug, is it reduces your immune system. And because my immune system is what's hurting me, I take a drug to turn down my immune system, right? So during COVID, I was very susceptible to getting COVID, right? Because my immune system's kind of running at 20%, which is why I've had the flu for the last 6 weeks, right? The whole time I've been streaming, I've had the flu because my body's going to take way longer to fight it, right? Because I take a drug that turns down my immune system. So it's, oh, thank you for following, Hip Hop Caden. Yeah, so COVID was fun, but Woolies gave me priority delivery because I am on immunosuppressant. So I sent Woolworths a letter from my doctor saying my diagnosis and my the medication that I'm on, and saying that I'm highly immunocompromised. And yeah, so I was able to just get my groceries delivered to my house. So that was really cool. That was helpful. But yeah, pandas. Rare Woolies W. Yeah. Coles were doing it too, I think. They were doing it for the elderly and disabled and immunocompromised. So I was lucky to be able to get on that. It really helped because I was actually so scared. I actually worked from home for I didn't leave my house for 2 years. I'm not joking. I didn't leave my house for 2 whole years when from I think from March 2020 to March 2022, I didn't leave the house. I did go for a few walks when the curfews were lifted and I could go for a walk at night, but I went in a mask and stuff, and yeah, it was it was intense, but I had to be really, really careful.
Oh, whacked his head on
She's very gentle in the beginning. She's not so patient with it anymore.
Look at this guy. These two feisty little pandas over here.
They're moving the box
pushing the box into the other one. They're going to wake all their buddies up. Oh, he's...
What do I do for work? I'm a social worker. Yep. It's an interesting job to say the least.
Back up. Oh, he's over. Oh, but he's back in again. He is not going to take no for an answer. Here he goes.
So persistent.
I wonder what happens when he hits the floor on the other side. We may be able to find out because his attendant left.
Yeah, she's coming right back.
He's going to go. Is he going for it?
Well, during the lockdowns, everything was done through webcams and stuff like that. So it actually wasn't that hard. Even when I had to talk to the police and stuff, that was all done through webcams. Literally everything was done through webcam. Obviously now that we're back, everyone's back, everything's in person again. But yeah, and also I started doing a lot more policy work as opposed to like client work, because obviously there's a lot of paperwork to do when you're a social worker. It's mainly case notes and things like that. So I kind of took over that from a lot of people that were doing, because there were some social workers, obviously, like their social workers are frontline personnel. So especially like child protection workers and stuff like that, they would still need to do home visits and all that type of thing. But, you know, I could just take over the case notes and writing all of that and doing all the paperwork and doing all the policy papers and doing, you know, applying for people's payments and doing all that type of stuff. So basically I just did the part of social work that all the other social workers hate, which is like doing the paperwork, right? They were like, oh yeah, Panda can do all out, because they got to do the part that they like, right, which is going and talking to people. And I got to do the part that everyone hates, which is the paperwork. So, you know, but, you know, it's fine. Like, I appreciate that, you know, people took my lupus seriously, and the fact that, like, I take immunosuppressants seriously, because now if I get COVID, you know, in the current strains of COVID, you know, I'll be sick and it won't be great. It won't be great for me, but I'll survive. When COVID first started, like if I had have got, you know, the original strains of COVID, I would have been, yeah, I probably would have died with all the, you know, all the other shit I've got going on. I don't think it would have been great.
She's putting new gloves on. And back you go, you little bugger.
She's coming into the...
I think it's easy to look at a panda and forget it's an actual real animal. It's hard to conceive that the incredible forces of evolution that create highly effective, lethal predators would turn one into this. And for all the creationists,
you can kind of see why people would think that koalas are bears, right? Because they do look like a bear. They're just not a bear. It did not evolve. It was created by God. Yeah, they are so cute. They're so cute. But yeah, I just like how they're so lazy that they're too lazy to procreate, and that they have to force them to mate.
that are inevitably frothing try to comment about how this is proof that animals are created and not evolved. Why would our Lord Creator create something so terrible? This spherical ball of evolutionary mistakes is clinging to existence. And while this is very sad because they are very cute, they don't necessarily garner a ton of sympathy when you learn just how bad they are at being.
Who did my model? My friend made my model for me. Yeah, I didn't pay anything for it or anything like that. I just drew a sketch of what I wanted, and yeah, he made it for me in like a day. It was actually a friend of mine that has been telling me to do Twitch or streaming for a while. I think because I'm just always talking his head off about stuff. He's like, oh, you should stream. He's been saying it to me for like 5 or 6 years. And I was like, well, just because of the type of work that I do and stuff like that, I'm like, I don't want to jeopardize like my employment, right? So I want to have like some type of anonymity. So he was like, oh, you should do VTubing. And then I went and I was looking at getting a VTuber model made. And it was like the packages were insane. And then he just did a bit of research and he was like, oh yeah, I can make you one. And I just drew a sketch of what I wanted, which was just basically like, you know, goth girl meets Sailor Moon sort of a thing. And that's how we went. Oh, they're insanely expensive, especially like the artists that all the big VTubers use. Like those packages can cost like tens of thousands of dollars if you get like the whole kit and caboodle. So yeah, I was really lucky like that. And he made like exactly what I wanted, like exactly the sketch that I did is exactly what he made. So I was really over the moon with it. Like, yeah, I was pretty psyched with it. It was really good.
Animals. Pandas have evolved to eat a very narrow range of food. A range so narrow, it's basically just one thing: bamboo. A plant that has almost no nutritional value and is full of cyanide. It's so toxic that pretty much all other animals avoid it. And it's so nutritionally deficient that they have to spend up to 12 hours a day, almost all of their waking hours, eating enough of it to survive. And for a bear, this makes even less sense.
Yeah, well, he's really, really, really insanely techie, like so good. I've gotten him to build a PC for me before, like when I've had like a very strict budget of like putting together my PC. My parents, who like don't have much money, he built me a PC for them out of secondhand parts because I wanted to buy my parents a computer. And this was like this was a while ago when my health was really, really bad. And so I wasn't working very much. I could only manage to work like between 15 and 20 hours a week. So I was like barely keeping a roof over my head, but I still had more money than my parents, right? Because my dad's it's a whole thing that happened with that, but he didn't have enough money when he retired, basically. And he didn't earn much money when he was working, to be honest. And yeah, he built me a PC for my parents out of like secondhand parts, really, really cheaply. It actually cost more to post them the PC from Melbourne to Sydney than it did to build it. So yeah, he's a good dude. He's always helping me do stuff like that. So yeah.
They're members of the Ursidae family, related to grizzly bears, polar bears, and black bears. Every other species in the Ursidae family eats meat, either as omnivores or as obligate carnivores like polar bears. And scientists think that pandas need to eat so much bamboo that in the wild they have to keep their distance from one another to get enough. This means that they can have a hard time finding a mate. This contributes to...
My dad actually does game now. He plays like all of these like tank games, and he likes to play like this American Civil War game, and he likes to play like the Civilization games because he's like heaps into history and stuff. So yeah, my dad actually is a gamer. he likes like military strategy games. We set him up like a Steam and like downloaded him some games. We had to access the computer remotely because he just doesn't know how to use computers at all. Like my dad would literally call me and tell me his email is broken. And I'm like, what are you talking about? But what happens is he keeps his email on signed in, right? But then when it signs out, he doesn't know how to get back in. So he stresses out because he has a link to his email like on the home screen, right? And if he clicks on it and the email doesn't open, he calls me panicking and he's like, my email's broken. So I have to go through like talking to him about how to type his password into the box and where to click. So I have to explain to him how to move the cursor into the box, click, type your password, then you want to hit enter, and it's a whole thing. Like, you know, because he's never worked in a job where like they use computers, right? Like it's completely foreign to him. He did like get a computer for me and my siblings when we were at school, obviously, because we had to get one. So he had to take out a loan and like do all of that to get one. But he never used them and he never needed them for work. So you had that ticket today of somebody that didn't know how to sign into their email. That's so cute.
Pandas having an exceedingly low birth rate, which contributes to the fact that they are this close to not existing anymore. And on top of this uphill battle that they've already created for themselves, they act as if they have absolutely no survival instincts hardwired into their brains. They fall off and get stuck in trees, and just generally act like every day is their first day on Earth. And on top of this, one of their favorite hobbies is poop. They poop over 40 times a day, and given the chance, pandas will absolutely cover themselves in horse poop. I am talking head to toe, full body immersion. The official term for a group of pandas is an embarrassment of pandas.
Aww.
And even if they are lovable, it sure seems like they are an evolutionary
So they're
accident
stinky.
that maybe
They're very
came about
stinky.
just for our amusement. But as we all know, evolution doesn't work like that. Everything evolves for some reason, but how is being a clumsy idiot beneficial? And why would they evolve to eat the worst thing imaginable? And why are they absolutely obsessed with poop?
Oh my goodness. I didn't know they love poo.
Native to the bamboo forests of south central China. And although they are members of the Ursidae family, they have taken a unique evolutionary path. Around 40 million years ago, the ancestors of bears split away from the other caniforms. Then, around 23.4 million years ago, the Ursidae family split in two. The genus Ailuropoda was all alone on one branch, and this is what pandas evolved from. All the other bear species evolved on the other side of that branch. And as pandas continued to evolve, they did something truly baffling. They evolved to stop eating meat, transitioning to eating almost exclusively bamboo. Scientists assume this happened between 6 to 7 million years ago, and they make that assumption about the timing because of one adaptation they...
Though brown bears are like omnivorous though, like they'll eat like berries and stuff like that. Like they don't just eat like meat, apparently. Apparently like they're super into like fruits and stuff.
seemed to have gained that allowed for better bamboo manipulation, a pseudo-thumb. This is like a whole extra weird little thumb. Essentially, one of their wrist bones grew extra large so that it curves in an opposite direction as the other 5 of their fingers. The thumb isn't as widely useful as a human thumb, but it's perfect for grasping bamboo. But at first glance, suddenly...
Your auntie had her blueberries stolen by a grizzly. Where does your auntie live? I assume like North America or Russia, but that's so cool. Is it scary? Is it scary to just like have bears? Because grizzlies are kind of aggro, right? Minnesota. Oh, my cousin, one of my cousins married a Minnesotian guy. Is that how you say it? She lived there for a bit, but they got divorced. I don't know. I don't know. It was a whole thing. I didn't get invited to the wedding, so, you know, rude, actually.
Suddenly adapting to only eat bamboo fundamentally makes no sense. And in most ways, pandas still look like the other bears. They have sharp claws and sharp canines. Even their guts still resemble the gut of other carnivores. When we look at carnivores versus herbivores, carnivores have a much shorter and simpler digestive tracts. That's because their high-protein diet requires a lot less digestion time to extract all the nutrients they need. Herbivores take longer to digest plant foods because there are higher levels of indigestible materials, like cellulose, the main structural molecule in plant cells. It's tough and hard to break down, which is why certain herbivores, like cows, have multiple stomach.
She put them on the table outside, and when she got outside again, the berries were gone and there were purplish paw prints on the deck. That's kind of cute though. I bet bear prints are super cute. But yeah, that would be terrifying. I've seen like videos of like cats launching themselves at grizzlies and the grizzlies like run away. Are there like other types of bears in North America? Because I know there's like smaller like black bears and stuff in Japan and stuff, but yeah. A picnic table. Yeah, cartoon bears definitely like their picnic baskets.
Compartments. They spend a long time digesting so that they can extract as many carbohydrates and other nutrients as possible. But pandas, surprisingly, have a carnivore gut. They don't have the multi-chambered stomachs of ruminants, so of their nearly 100% diet of bamboo, they can only digest around 20%.
Yogi Bear, that's who he's called. I couldn't remember the name of him and his little friend. I just remembered that they were in Yellowstone Park. That's all I could remember. I was like, I can't think of the name of that cartoon. It was just not coming. Boo Boo. Boo Boo's his little friend. Aww.
Of it. This means they have to eat a lot of bamboo, up to 35 kilograms per day, which is also why they poop 40 times per day. The food stays in their guts a little longer than most carnivores, but still, this seems wildly inefficient. And not only do pandas have a digestive tract that looks like that of a carnivore, their gut microbes also match the pattern of carnivores. Gut microbiome diversity is highest in herbivores, then omnivores, with carnivores coming in last. You'd think that millions of years of only eating bamboo would...
No poop July sounds like a very bad idea for everyone. Eat your fiber, kids. Pooing is important, alright? If you're not pooing, you need to go to the doctors. Did you know that apparently bowel cancers were becoming like very common among young people now? And like nobody really knows why. It's kind of scary.
Introduce a bit of diversity into the panda's gut bacteria, but that's not the case. In fact, once panda cubs are weaned off their mother's milk and transition to eating bamboo, the diversity of their gut bacteria decreased. As the scientists write in their paper on the subject, a carnivorous digestive system fed with a bamboo-dominated diet is not a typical feature of evolution. But as dumb as this seems, there's usually a reason behind long-standing animal adaptations. And in this instance, starting to eat bamboo kind of made sense for pandas, sort of. Bamboo may be low in energy, but in southern China, when this adaptation came about, it was abundant. Plus, it grows exceptionally quickly. Bamboo is one of the world's fastest growing plants, with one species growing more than 1 meter per day. And
yeah, some people have thought that it's like common use of antibiotics causing like gut flora to be imbalanced. There's all these theories, but yeah, like I think we definitely have a lot less fiber in our diets than we used to. Processed food, I mean, who knows, but it's really like, it's so scary. There's just so many things that you just need to get tested for now. You know what, for the entirety of July you're gonna eat bamboo to prove pandas are overreacting? You should send a letter to the Panda Society. I don't know if that's a thing, but you should send them a letter and be like, these pandas are just being little bitches. A lot of people don't meet the 30-gram fiber minimum. Yeah, and I mean, even if you have a bad diet, right, go get like some Metamucil or like whatever, just chug it down. You know, it's better than the alternative. Panda Express, that's a Chinese restaurant, right? Yeah, I think I've seen people eating that. They have like orange chicken and like a bunch of other American Chinese meals.
And reaching its maximum height of 20 meters in just under 2 months. And the highest diversity of species of bamboo is in southern China. And as it so happens, it perfectly overlaps the limited territory that giant pandas exist in, even though they probably lived over a much wider range in the past. Bamboo is such a dominant species that in a bamboo forest, almost no other plant life grows. And not many other animals eat bamboo. So for any animal that can evolve to consume it, bamboo provides a bounty of food unlike anything else.
You Americans and your high fructose corn syrup. Seriously.
But it does seem particularly weird for a meat eater to suddenly be okay going from eating delicious succulent meat to poisonous sticks.
Yeah, that's why if you like eat too much like chewing gum or something like that with artificial sweeteners in it, you get diarrhea, right? Because it gives you diarrhea. I can't remember what it's called, but it's the stuff all the keto people use instead of sugar because it's like 0 carb or whatever. Yeah, that gives you diarrhea as well. It all gives you diarrhea. Yeah, but the artificial sweeteners give you diarrhea. Can't remember what it's called. I think it starts with an X. I don't know. I don't chew gum. So.
But scientists think pandas underwent another strange adaptation to make them fine with this. An adaptation that is as weird as it is sad. Around 4.2 million years ago, pandas lost the function of their T1R1 gene, which is what's involved in detecting umami flavors in meat, which are driven by L-glutamate. L-glutamate is an amino acid present in high quantities in protein.
MSG is delicious.
Something is especially full of calories and nutrition. And suddenly, pandas could no longer detect it, which...
Yeah, I think I was thinking of the xylitol. Is that how you say it? I don't know.
Probably made meat a lot less enticing, at least going by flavor. What a curse. Likely at first, pandas just adapted to eat a little bit of bamboo due to its abundance. And then, after a long time, they gradually lost their ability to enjoy meat, and thus lost most of their hunting instincts.
I know, that's so sad that China's national animal can't taste MSG. MSG is so good. I'm so glad that we have noodles in Australia again. That, like, remember when noodles, like 2-minute noodles, had MSG in it, and then they took all the MSG out and they tasted like crap. But then we got all these noodles from Korea and Japan that have MSG in, and we're like, why do they taste so good? I don't know. Maybe because they have MSG in them and it's delicious. Yeah, okay, Uncle Roger. We got a Uncle Roger fan in the chat confirmed. Hyperbovian.
They might have still eaten fruit for a while, and even today they'll eat fruit if you give them some, but almost no fruit grows in a bamboo forest. Given all of these factors, some scientists think that pandas were probably eating nothing but bamboo as far back as 2.4 million years. But regardless of when it happened, a carnivore evolving to eat only bamboo is unprecedented evolutionarily speaking. In fact, anything eating only bamboo is kind of unthinkable, because even if there is a bounty of bamboo, it's still toxic. Bamboo is full of cyanide in quantities high enough that eating it raw would kill most mammals. In fact, there have been numerous cases of poisoning among humans who accidentally ate raw bamboo or prepared it incorrectly. Other herbivores have a way to detoxify cyanide using an enzyme called mitochondrial rhodonase, because many plants use cyanide as a defense mechanism, and herbivores encounter it in small doses over their lifetime. But pandas have far less of this detoxification enzyme than normal herbivores. And yet these pandas are consuming up to 66 milligrams of cyanide every day, close to a fatal dose for humans, and they seem just fine. It might seem like they are too stupid to realize they're supposed to die, but it turns out they actually have a way to get around this poison.
That was so harsh. That was so harsh. Poor little panda. Look, when you're this cute, you can be as dumb as you want, okay? It's called bimbo power. The ultimate bimbo is the panda. That's what I'm taking away from. And I have panda in my name, and I'm a bimbo, so you know, we're all getting by. It's how it works.
Different from the way most herbivores do it. When researchers looked more closely at the panda's gut bacteria, as diverse as it wasn't, they found an abundance of one unique and powerful bacteria, Pseudomonas fluorescens.
Yeah, my branding is immaculate, Hyperbovian. My branding truly is immaculate.
This bacteria helps degrade cyanide compounds, which seems to completely protect the pandas. Plus, pandas are strategic in what parts of the bamboo they eat. Depending on the species of bamboo and time of year, the pandas may target different parts of the plant to avoid the highest dose of cyanide.
And doesn't one of the stone fruits have like arsenic in the seeds? Is it like apricots or something, or peaches? I don't know. Maybe I'm not remembering that correctly, but I think that might be the case.
This targeted feeding is also the case when it comes to nutrients. In fact, although 99% of the panda's diet is bamboo, a recent study found that they're actually eating the same amount of protein as carnivores. How? Because young bamboo shoots actually have a lot of protein in them, and so do the leaves at certain points in their life cycle. And pandas target these to get as much protein as wild cats do. In the end, their bamboo diet is 61% protein energy, 23% carb energy, and 16% fat. This is even reflected in panda milk, which has a higher ratio of protein than the milk of herbivorous mammals. So at first, I'm kind of impressed that pandas found a way to cheat the system and turn a crappy food source into something usable. But this feeling doesn't last long, because even if pandas can technically get enough nutrients out of bamboo, they still have to eat an ungodly amount of it to get enough nutrients, spending pretty much their entire life doing nothing else but gorging on it. To cope with this, their metabolism has adapted to slow way down, and they can't afford to move around that much. They're fairly sedentary animals trying to hold on to.
Yeah, I 100% am a panda. I would just sit around eating, being a fatty if I could. That would be amazing. But I don't get to do that, so it's not fair.
To every ounce of energy that they can. And while this is a somewhat effective evolutionary reaction, it doesn't solve all of their problems. The winters in China can be brutally cold, and unlike other...
I wouldn't want to eat for a whole 12 hours, but I would like to do nothing for 12 hours than work a job. I don't know, I guess you could get bored if you... Yeah, ideally, like, streaming full-time would be sick. Like, that would be good, because it doesn't really feel like you're working, you know, just sitting at a desk talking shit all day long. That would be nice. And like being able to get food delivered to your house, because like you're just making all this money streaming, so it's like, oh well, it's actually like more cost effective to order food than it is to make it, because you're making money streaming, so you just get whatever you want delivered. And you can afford a gym membership, so after you finish streaming, you just go work off all the calories. What a life streamers have.
Bear species that can pack on fat and hibernate for the winter, pandas can't afford to ever stop eating. So they just have to endure it, meaning they have to spend even more energy using thermoregulation to maintain a stable internal temperature. Eating bamboo became a positive feedback loop, requiring them to eat more and more bamboo. And it might also explain why they're so clumsy, or at least why they appear to be. Pandas look clumsy in part because they're always looking for the lowest energy way to get around. And sometimes the easiest way to get somewhere is to fall there. And their round shape just lends itself to rolling. Scientists think they might partly do this just for fun. So at this point in the
Remember when you used to say to fatties on the playground, why stroll when you could roll? And when you were in primary school, you thought like that was such a sick burn?
And a story, it seems like they've found a sort of novel way to get enough nutrients. Something they don't have to compete with other species for and is readily abundant. Which is sort of an evolutionary win as long as they can eat enough of it. But there are still even more problems with this plan. Although they don't have to compete with other species much for bamboo, they still sort of have to compete with each other. And because they need to eat so much of it, each wild panda keeps a large territory to themselves. They live solitary lives, using their sense of smell to avoid each other as best as they can. Male pandas tend to have territories that are around 6.5 square kilometers, while female territories are usually about 4.5 square kilometers. This isn't a problem in itself. They don't seem to mind living solitary lives. However, it becomes a big problem when it's time to mate. Pandas only seek out other pandas in spring for mating, and female pandas have a fertility window of just 2 to 7 days per year.
Whoa,
and
that's
conception
nuts.
has to be timed exactly. Like, come on, guys. I'm actually just getting annoyed at this point.
Human females, to contrast that, have 12 fertility windows a year. Like, oof.
So when it's getting close to time to mate, pandas leave scent messages for one another by rubbing their scent glands on trees, rocks, and grass And they just hope that other pandas get the message in time to hike miles over mountainous terrain to mate in the minuscule 2-day window. If they succeed, which...
Yeah, it really is amazing that these cute little buggers exist. But I'm so glad they do, because look at them. Holy shit. Is there a cuter thing? No. Oh my goodness. I love them. I want one. Like I said, if Xi Jinping ever listens to my stream, I am willing to shill for China. I know that China likes to, you know, do panda diplomacy and give like pandas to countries that they have good relations with. But look, I will shill for China. I will sell out on all of my beliefs if you give me a panda, okay? I've said it once, I'll say it again. Give me a panda, I'm your girl. You know, you also have to give me like a place to keep the panda, you know, maybe a koi pond, because I've always wanted one of those. They're super cool. And I'm your girl. I am here to do, you know, anything for a panda. So just want to put that out there into the ether, Xi Jing, if you're listening, please.
Which they rarely do. Female pandas are pregnant for 5 months before giving birth to a tiny cub about 1/800th of their size. Half of panda pregnancies result in twins. Awesome. Except for the weaker of the two cubs is often abandoned.
No.
Pandas can typically only care for one infant at a time because the tiny cubs need constant and careful attention. I get that this happens in many animals, but this just seems like yet another way pandas are begging to go extinct. Their evolutionary path is just kind of an impossible one. But what about the poop thing? Could this maybe be the secret to their ongoing survival? Giant pandas in central China's Foping National Nature Reserve have been seen absolutely smearing horse poop all over their entire bodies, really focusing on their face and necks. Is this...
What the fuck was the white thing? I don't know. I didn't see a white thing. Did anyone else see a white thing? I don't know. I don't have good attention skills, so...
fun? Or is this some other weird adaptation that somehow helps them? Recently, scientists think they made a breakthrough in this horse poop mystery. They noticed that the pandas seemed to do this most when it was cold outside. Could it somehow be a way to keep them warm? Because pandas are fiercely protected, scientists rarely get access to do direct experiments with them. So for this scientific question, the researchers used mice. They covered the mice in the poop compounds of interest and found that poop-treated mice walked on cold surfaces more readily and huddled together for warmth less. And what the researchers realized was that these poop compounds inhibit cold receptors in mice, and also in pandas. Some experts...
Oh, there you go, Australians. If you're having trouble this winter because your house has no insulation, what you need to do is you need to go to like a paddock with some cows, find some horse shit, find some cow patties, rub that stuff all over you, then go home and you won't be cold. There you go, panda. Pandas have taught you how to be warm. I myself, I bought an hoodie and some slippers, but I mean, if that's not your thing and you've got a scat fetish, you know, you can go the poo-poo route and that's fine. We won't judge you because your lifestyle is your choice and we support everybody on this stream.
Experts argue that this could be a way for the pandas to endure those brutally cold winters while foregoing hibernation. But while it might be a coping mechanism, it seems like it could be an incredibly bad one. If their bodies no longer feel the sensation of cold, this could prevent them from seeking shelter, and would actually be incredibly dangerous. Because of this, some scientists aren't convinced, and they think the pandas just really like poop for fun. So at best, this behavior is weird and gross, and at worst, it's downright stupid and maybe suicidal. Horse poop is probably not the secret sauce to their unlikely ongoing survival. I know I'm kind of joking about all of this, but it really looks like pandas are just simply bad at surviving. It looks like they exploited the environmental niche of bamboo, but at a great cost, basically dooming themselves. Because of all of this, certain simulations make some scientists think that pandas have been on the decline for thousands of years or even longer.
Aww.
Some argue that if humanity had never existed, the panda would still go extinct in the very near future. It's undeniable that they are slow to adapt, and that their very specific niche puts them at a disadvantage if any single thing in that environment changes. But humans are really, really good at changing the environment. So even if pandas have been declining without humans, humans have undoubtedly made it worse. Panda population decline accelerated rapidly in the 1700s, when agriculture and human civilization expanded rapidly in central China. And ever since then, panda habitat has been wildly fragmented. Dams, roads, and railways divide panda habitats, making it even more difficult for them to find each other to mate, and reducing the amount of bamboo forests needed for them to get enough food. This, along with poaching, absolutely slashed panda numbers. Today, only around 1,800 pandas are left in the wild.
No.
Regardless, if we don't intervene, pandas would absolutely go extinct. Captive breeding programs have saved pandas from the
Oh
brink
my
of
god,
oblivion,
that's so
and
cute.
now humans are working to create corridors between forest reserves to link up wild pandas once again.
So you're all starting a no pooing regime so you can keep warm. I mean, give it a go. Yeah, you're gonna, you know what, you're gonna end up like having a massive gut if you don't poo. Yeah. No flat stomachs for anyone in the chat. If you want to keep all your poo inside, you're gonna, even if you're not fat, you're just full of shit, you're just gonna have a poo-poo gut.
Do we as humans spend a ridiculous amount of money trying to keep an animal that seems to want to go extinct alive? Yes. But is it maybe our responsibility to try? Also yes. Evolution did them dirty, but so did we. Sometimes we just have to take care of the idiots amongst us. My favorite part of studying biology is looking at these evolutionary questions, the big causes and effects that shape every animal on Earth. How competitive pressure and genetic mutations led to the supremely weird bamboo diet for pandas. How a drying climate caused ants to become fungus farmers. How becoming upright animals allowed us to become extremely smart animals. The path to higher intelligence in humans is unlike anything else in the animal kingdom. And it's something I've explored in depth in a 5-part Nebula original miniseries called Becoming Human. In this series, I explore the major steps in human evolution, from toolmaking, hunting, to long-distance running.
Oh, I think the panda bit is over. Pandas. So cute. So dumb. So clumsy. So relatable to me, really. Well, I don't know. It's midnight and I'm kind of trying to assess if I should finish the stream and go to bed or if I should watch another video. Because I do have to do some errands early tomorrow morning because I have to do stuff early in the morning. Number one, because it's Sunday. Number two, because the UV gets higher later on in the day and everything will be shut in the evening. So that's not an option. Yeah. I don't know. I'll see if I find something that looks interesting, I'll watch it. And if I don't, then I'll go to bed. So I'll give myself a few minutes to have a look, but doesn't look promising. Yeah, you know what? I've got to have a shower before bed. So yeah. By the time I get out of the shower and do all of that stuff that girls have to do, like moisturizer and skincare and yeah, it's gonna be late. All right, well, I think I'm gonna end the stream, but thanks heaps for hanging out tonight, guys. Really appreciate it. Yeah, see you in the next one, I guess. I will be streaming tomorrow. I I'm gonna change my streaming schedule, so I'm gonna take Wednesdays off now instead of Sundays. I've kind of like oscillated between the two, but yeah, Wednesday's just like a ghost town around here in these Twitch streets. So yeah, gonna do that. But yeah. All right. Well, good night, everybody. See you next time. Bye. Will I be putting out shorts tomorrow? Depends how I feel, I guess. See you guys. Bye.
Thank you so much for the raid. My name is Donut. I usually do gaming and working stream on Twitch and on YouTube. I do funny show and weird food tasting. Welcome in. How's your stream? What do you do? 其實好似係咪講電話？我覺得好似係唔記得 shout 我錯啊！好多嘢要做。我想講我最近揾緊隻歌，之前咧你哋有人點歌，但我唔記得叫咩，係一個女仔唱，我唔記得係廣東話定係普通話啦，都係台灣歌啦。佢隻歌有咩？